I'm gonna ask you to give a little intro, so you might get ready.
Okay. You mean like right now?
No,
Back to the beginning of some meetings.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Yeah, you're getting the, preemptive warning.
I did my plan for thorns, I had long sleeves, I had gloves, can you tell where my gloves went down? Yeah, I got a little
I
snack.
told you I wouldn't have wanted to.
And I was trying, there's blood all over there. It stopped.
See the whole
I think my grandmother.
Yours don't get black and blue like me, huh?
Yes, gosh. I mean, yeah, but it's, now I can figure out, it's like 125 years old. Same plant, yeah. It's like it's not a bit,
Now it's got history, you can't get rid of it.
but I can't figure it out.
Something like that.
I don't know if it's and there it is.
These are all old, the old plant.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the May 11th Plan Commission meeting. And the first order of business is we have a new engineer by, what is that? City engineer by employment, whatever that means. Kyle, how about introducing yourself and your title?
Sure thing. I'm not quite sure with the by employment part, but I am the new city engineer. So I come from the city of Fort Wayne. They were training me up in the city engineering utility department there. My background is primarily in hydraulics, hydrology, with focusing on stormwater and sanitary systems. I did a few projects with some pressurized systems as well, so I can do pump stations, pump curves, stuff of that nature. That's where my primary expertise is. I worked a little bit for Newport Steel as well and took some structural classes in school, so a decent background there as well. But yeah, so I'm a newly licensed professional engineer. And so-
Congratulations.
Thank you. With the change coming up, I also thought it'd be a good time to make a career change. I live out in Pierceton, Indiana, kind of north on State Road 13, so I definitely enjoy the idea of working somewhere more local, but more than that, I also like the idea of working for a smaller, more personal municipality. Fort Wayne's great, and it's not without its charm, but it's a little too big for me. So when I saw the opportunity come available to be the city engineer from Warsaw in a smaller town that's a little more closer to home for me to grow, I thought that was a really great opportunity, and I jumped on it.
Well, we currently about number 11, somewhere there on the Newsweek Best Small Towns in America. We'd like to get number 1, so I'll count on you.
All right. So I got it.
Welcome.
No.
I like to have you.
Yep, happy to be here, thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll talk about minutes. Are there any questions or comment about the minutes? If not, is there a motion to approve? Move to approve. Thank you. Max, seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, thank you. New business. Mailers, Joiner Cinemas, 1259 Husky Trail. And who's going to speak? Justin's going to speak. Go ahead, Justin.
Yes, I'll just introduce the item here. The petitioner has submitted a plat to reconfigure 3 lots located at 1060 Mariners Drive. Historically, these lots were merged for tax purposes and have been maintained under common ownership. The need to reconfigure these parcels has arisen because the owner would like to sell off some of the lots, and one of the property lines bisects the building, so it wouldn't be wise to do that until this is cleaned up. The plat includes an expansion of a drainage and utility easement to the west of Lot 3, and that will allow Lot 3 to access that public drainage basin. There's a note there about this plat vacating of the utility and drainage easement that cuts through the movie theater as well. That note is actually incorrect. This plat doesn't create the removal of that easement. That was done in a prior document, so I just wanted to make sure that note was updated after chatting with the surveyor this morning. The planning department recommends that the plan commission grant preliminary and final approval for the plat as presented.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
No changes in zoning on any of these lots, same zoning, same use, same
just for the record, was there any input from the public, either phone calls or letters?
We didn't receive any that I'm aware of, so they did do the mailings, but we didn't receive any contact.
Okay, very good, thank you.
So whose responsibility is it, to pay for the expansion of the drainage and utility easement?
So the utility easement itself is not expanding as, from this plat, it is access to. It actually does encompass the lot, the area that is expanded to the west of lot 3. It currently exists there, so we wouldn't be expanding the basin. We're just expanding the easement that allows lot 3 to access the basin.
So no moving of the utility?
Correct. The basin's there, and it actually leaves the area that's blocked off for the basin, which it was something we discussed a little bit internally just to see how comfortable we were with the language on the easement. We do believe that, because the city would have ownership of that basin, we do believe, from when it was platted in the 70s, we do believe that we would have the ability to widen or deepen that basin as needed based on the language on the plat.
Go ahead.
So the public area noted on the plat is owned by the city of Warsaw?
Correct, and we did a little digging, and the original plat labeled it as public area, so it's been ours. We weren't really aware of that. But it's been, like, this plat isn't creating a new public basin.
And for clarity, we've used the term, enlarging or increasing the size of the easement. Are we going longer, wider, both?
So if you look at the proposed plat, you can see lot 3, and that sliver beside lot 3
Yep.
is where the easement to access that basin exists. So that just allows lot 3 to cross into that basin with drainage.
And the basin is a retention area?
Yeah, it's a depressed area where water could go, retention or detention, I'm not 100% sure on that, but there are outlets and inlets going into the basin.
My follow-up question is, are there overflows and outlets, and where do they go?
Yeah, and Kyle maybe will speak more to that. I believe they go out to US 30, they're right away after it, if it were to overflow.
So as far as, now I drove by the site and I noticed I labeled more of a retention basin. I might have to take another look, but I wasn't familiar with any outlet pipes, but there was one inlet pipe coming in from the north.
Mhm.
Am I speaking correctly there, Justin?
There is one that comes from the north. I thought when we looked at it, there was another one that maybe went under the road, but I don't know if it was inlet or outlet from looking at it. But either way, we would have to maintain it regardless of this plat, the same way.
So to answer your question, I don't have the topography in front of me, but the overflow path, would first overflow mostly to that parking lot. The road is pretty high next to it. If it were to overtop the road, it would go to 30, but, without crunching any numbers on it, you'd probably be over a 100-year storm event for something
Right.
like that to happen.
But there is not existing subterranean tile to the state highway drainage.
I'd have to go out and verify and take a deeper look.
If I may. So I know there are two, my name's Josh, I'm the. Josh Vasquez, the operations manager out of the theater. There are two inlets that come in, one that comes from our building into that storm drain. The second being an easement that's brought from Cooter Estates into that area as well. My understanding, for years, we actually maintained and mowed and did all that stuff in there. Once we found out it was a public space, we have since kind of said, hey, what was told to me was that it would kind of be up to us to kind of go around to everybody who has access to it and do some sort of HOA agreement where we can split the funds, but it sounds like it is the city's responsibility from what I'm learning today. But you could see there was some sort of underground tile that was explained to me once by somebody out there, but that's all the information I have about whether or not lots over there, or the land over there goes out to 30. But
So you haven't seen it? You
I
just-
haven't seen it. I've seen that there was some sort of underground, almost like a, filter that kind of set up down in the bottom. So, but we've never seen too much water standing in there since I've been there the last 5 years. So,
Right, the soils in the area are pretty good just for percolation. But, so the two inlet pipes, you said one was coming from, it sounded like downspouts from the movie theater itself that connect into another pipe that's coming north-south in that basin. So you're saying they tee together, or
they don't tee together. There's one place, if you look at the aerial view, there's a section of concrete that actually, that is Cooter Estates easement comes through. That is I believe, a 10-inch concrete tube that goes in there. And I believe that actually, they have a small drainage retention area kind of on the backside of their property, kind of south of their property, that then feeds over to our property. Or to the public drainage, so.
Thank you.
So is the proposed lot 3, like right off of the cul-de-sac, like where you go off of Husky and go on to Mariner?
So it is where the lot 3 is actually south of our building. So it's kind of right in the corner near that cul-de-sac. So not sure at some point if there would be some sort of way to get there from Husky Trail, or if it would be a shared right away from our establishment.
That is going to be my question. I doubt you can get a cut off a Husky Trail just because of the cul-de-sac. On Mariner Drive, that's too close to you probably can't get a cut. So you would have to provide some kind of easement through lot 1 to get to lot 3, I believe. Is that been addressed?
Alex Reed, listing broker for the owner, Alex Joyner. The goal or the hope would be to get to the curb cut on Husky Trail. We talked with Justin about that and being as far away from the roundabout as possible. Pretty close to where the existing pylon sign is for North Point now. That would be about where the boundary is between lot 1 and lot 3. That's where we envision happening, just to keep it as far away from the roundabout to, not cause any traffic disruptions. But if that's not granted, then we would look at doing crossover easements between lot 1 and lot 3.
I mean, that would just be awful close to that roundabout. I guess that's my question.
It's close, but if you look at it's about 70 feet north of that, the Family Worship Center, they have a curb cut on the opposite side, so.
Yeah, I was thinking the church would be right across.
What's that?
The church would be directly across, correct?
Not, I wouldn't say directly across, a little
Well,
bit,
kind of,
yeah.
on the diagonal.
Why the curb cut on Husky as opposed to Mariners Drive? You have plenty of frontage on Mariners.
For lot 3,
For lot 3, the southern one that.
yeah, we just determined that there would not be, it'd be too close coming out of the roundabout there.
So if you kind of look at the topical view, there is almost like a little bit like a striped median, so to say, on Husky Trail, which would kind of allow for a turn lane to one way or the other. But yeah, there's right there, pretty much where our road sign is. If you look in kind of where the blacktop changes, if you're looking at the aerial view, just south of that is where we would say, or suggest the best entrance would be to that plot, or that lot 3.
Based on our discussions with Justin, we just didn't feel like it'd be feasible to do off
So
Mariners.
the thinking here is lot 3, the curb cut would be on Husky Trail, but whoever bought the theater would continue to use the other ingress and egress coming off of Mariners, even though it crosses across lot 2. I'm guessing.
Lot 2, yeah,
Creates
the
border on lot 2, right?
yeah. Lot 2 is just north of where our entrance would be for that.
So nobody would use that curb cut to get to the theater on Mariners Drive for lot 3.
Well, never say The intention would be to have it on specifically for lot 3 coming from Husky Trail.
Well, also, we were thinking of putting a fence or something that so people can't do that, or blocks or whatnot.
I agree.
So is lot 3 commercial? I'm not sure where commercial and residential.
Hang on a second, I've got-
C3 zoning.
There's C3, but part of this is residential, right? Like lot 2, is it bordering on residential?
Residential's across the street. Everything else, lot 1, 2, and 3 are all, C3.
But on the north side, it's residential, and
Right.
on the east side, it's
Yeah,
residential.
R3 to the north, R2 to the east, and everything else adjoining is,
To the east, it's R1. It's not even a 2.
sorry, yes, it is, sorry.
I'm concerned right now, if you don't want to just.
Well, whether a commercial structure would end up going into that or a residential one. Going into lot 3, if it would be sold for C3 or.
We have had some preliminary interest so far from a multifamily developer for both lot 2 and 3.
That's what I was wondering.
Yes, based on just the traffic counts coming off of Husky Trail, we don't envision something very high traffic, high volume, like a quick service restaurant, going in there. It's more likely to fit the profile that's already out there, office use, multifamily.
I still have a concern coming out of the cul-de-sac and going north. You don't have very good vision, and as soon as you finish that roundabout, there could be a car coming left that you'd be sliding into. It's only 70 feet. That's not very far to break when you're coming around the roundabout, and all of a sudden, you're exiting the roundabout and there's a car coming left. That's my concern. Right-hand turn is not a problem, but the left-hand turns is what I'd be concerned about.
Sure, so.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, as Josh mentioned, there is sort of a median, there's striping in there. It's not actually a designated turn lane, but there is kind of space in a median almost. That's,
I'm still stuck on why Mariners Drive can't be the access point, because roundabout distance from the roundabout being equal, there's less traffic on Mariners Drive than what there is on, Husky Trail 100.
I think you'd be even coming off of Mariners Drive from the roundabout, the curb cut would be even closer to the roundabout than where it would be on Husky. That's-
I agree with that, but there's already a couple of curb cuts
Mm.
within distance of the roundabout, and the point is the volume of traffic is lower on Mariners than it is on Husky. And you have the same, almost equal amount of frontage, either. My eyes are failing.
Justin, has the traffic commission looked at this, or will they be looking at this?
So we don't, right now, we don't know what we don't know. So we don't know what kind of traffic is gonna be involved in a potential future use. So after looking at it, we did discuss a lot of different options. The commission is well within its rights to request an easement to the north of lot 3, if that was something you guys wanted to see on there, just to give us a little bit more flexibility to push that farther north on Husky Trail. There's a blind curve on Mariners on the south end, so it might not be the best option there. There's also a barrier. I was gonna try to pull it up on the projector, but I don't see the remote anywhere. But there's a barrier that wouldn't allow you to make a left-hand turn out of the lot down on Mariners.
Yeah, so I'm gonna back out.
So we could request an easement out of the property of lot 1.
Correct. You could say we want an easement for, 75 feet to the north of lot 1. We did look at that initially, and we went back and forth on it, with the petitioner. There's a sign where that could potentially complicate it, and there's several utility poles that would complicate putting in access directly across from where the church is, because that's where we were kind of trying to push them initially. But after looking at the feasibility, I mean, if you're talking moving utility poles and stuff, it's about 250 feet north of the traffic circle. So we kind of felt like it could be feasible depending on what that future use is, for it to be fine. If it's an office space or something that doesn't have a high volume, it might be an appropriate, curb cut to put a little bit farther south, so.
So on the replat, just to be clear, between the public area and lot 3, trapezoidal kind of piece of property that is meant to stay with lot 1, so lot 1 ends up having two ways out to Mariners Drive.
No, that's the easement. That's where the basin is, like it dips down there.
So the public area is the basin.
It's like a finger that comes down.
Hang on, let me see what it
The one just west of lot 3.
He's
Is
looking
that
right
what you're looking at there?
Expansion of utility grades easement, so that becomes city property?
It is.
So the access to it isn't becoming city property, it's just enabling lot 3 to access it, but it is retained with lot 1. So the way you described it is correct. The basin already exists in that easement area, it extends into it, but they chose to include that with lot 1 as part of this plat.
I'm still not sure what happened to access to lot 3. Where did it all fall right now?
So,
I was gonna say, we've discussed, curb cut, on the very north end of the border, kind of near where the pylon sign is now for the theater. Possibly coming off of the roundabout on Mariners. And if not, then we.
That's the 70-foot thing that Jordan was talking about. It is.
I'm gonna try to word this the right way. Do you have an active contractor interest in lot 3 based on access coming from Husky Trail?
They've just expressed interest in the lots, they have not necessarily explored what the curb cuts would look like.
All right, so we're not disrupting a potential sale with this conversation.
No. It's all preliminary right now, it's verbal, nothing is on paper yet, but they have shown fairly solid interest.
So Justin, who's the final arbiter of where this cut's gonna go?
So typically, these would be reviewed through tech review. We could also channel it through Traffic Safety Commission, and then ultimately the Plan Commission could make that determination if there was an issue. So the Traffic Safety Commission could make a recommendation to the plan, to you. But we don't have those site plans yet, we don't have them in front of us. So it's hard to kind of guess what that might be. It would make it more challenging to create an easement if there's difference in ownership. It might cost that potential buyer more money. But we don't know what we don't know right now, what that future use is gonna be.
So this commission gets the second bite of the apple then.
No, we don't usually. I mean, this would not come back to us normally, Justin.
We can bring it back through just like we did with the coffee shop. I can pull up the street view, but that could be something that you guys have access to.
Do we have to request it now that it come back?
I think maybe the cleanest way would be to request that the easement be placed there and that access on that parcel be shifted north. Just if you guys have that concern. But I'm not sure of the best way to approach that.
Okay, what was that number? Some 100 feet or whatever to the north on lot 2, is that what you're talking
Let
about?
me get this to pull up. I believe they said 75 feet to the north, correct? Is that-
I was saying the existing curb cut for the Family Worship Center, which is on the east side of Husky Trail, that was about 75 feet north of where we envisioned the curb cut being for lot one.
Okay.
Or lot three.
So just to clarify, so
Yeah.
the actual curb cut would be close to around 210 feet from the roundabout. And you're saying that the church's drive would be about 70 feet north of that. So it's not 70 feet from the roundabout.
No, yes,
It's
no,
200 some feet from
yes.
the roundabout.
Yes.
And it does look like there are 3 other curb cuts there. Martin's having 2 of them, and the other church that's there, Scientology or whatever's there, those are all within about the same 210, 230 feet of the roundabout. That's
The
accurate.
Scientology one was actually very close.
Very close.
Yeah, it's very close. So the other argument, I guess, from a safety standpoint, is when you're looking at Mariners Drive, you've got a kind of a curve that goes there, right? There's a sharp turn that comes through there. But also you're talking about a 2-lane road that's going to the hospital versus a 3-lane essentially road going up Husky Trail, because they've got that, it's like I said, it's a painted median that runs down there, that I would suggest.
There is a decel lane there for return.
It's like just east of lot 3 and all that, where we would propose that the inlet be, or the curb cut be just south of our sign.
Is there enough room on Husky Trail to make that a left-hand turn lane?
Oh, yeah, in my
I
opinion.
mean, that would be ideal.
Yeah, oh yeah, it'd be 100% ideal.
That would
Because then it could be a multi-turn lane, and that would help, in my opinion, with all of the
that would solve all
curb
that.
cuts.
Yeah.
Is any full lane, Justin, do you know?
It depends on where you're at, it definitely widens out, but.
There's actually, they do have a left-hand turn into, they have a left-hand turn lane just north of what I was saying, would be an ideal multi-turn lane.
But that would be on lot one.
Yeah, it does appear that there would be enough space there, for a turn lane, even including the lower lot line for lot 3.
Yeah.
Like I said, coming from the school, going south down, Mariners, there already is a turn lane that turns into the neighborhood there. And then just past that, you'll see 2 sections of striped median, or striped median essentially.
Yeah, that's basically where the school traffic goes,
Yes.
the pickup.
Other questions or comments, board? Any other thoughts that you heard?
As far as access, like I said, just would love to have it on Husky, but if that's not granted, then we can certainly look at crossover between lot 1 and lot 3.
We're not granting access though, right? Or-
No.
Yeah, okay.
Well, the thing is, if we approve it as drawn, they would have to come back and replat it in order to make it part of lot 1, go into lot 3. Which is why Justin was saying, we could just say that there needs to be a cut into lot 1 that becomes lot 3. Is that right? Am I saying that
I would say if you're gonna go that route, Diane, you could say that there needs to be an amendment to the proposed plat to allow an ingress egress easement on the north of lot 3 that, goes up to the north side of where the church access is. So then they would make that, amendment to the plat, and then you could approve it in its final form at the next meeting, if you wanted to go that route. So it just looked like an ingress egress easement, just like, the other ones on the site.
So would that cut you just north of the north property line of lot 3?
It would just give more flexibility so that they could potentially cut there. Like I said, there are a lot of utility poles up there. Then there's some, just questions of how that would work, with the parking and everything. So, I think there's options. There is a lot more width on this road, like they have listed. So, feels comfortable approving it with, understanding traffic in the community, maybe that is something that you guys would have amended on the current plat.
Well, the other issue is if that were to happen, I could see all of the theater customers going out to Husky.
It would make it harder to divide those
Very
lots.
hard.
If there's an easement, that's basically access for the theater as well.
Because the whole idea of the entrance to the theater originally for the whole subdivision was to keep the traffic from going directly off of, and that's why we put the roundabout in, to alleviate that mess. So I guess I would have a concern with the cut north of the north property line of lot 3.
Very fair point.
But basically, they couldn't cut right next to lot 3, because that's where the drainage is, right? If they wanted to go off of Mariner, it would have to be in that public lot part would be included in lot 1.
That's a detention basin there, it goes down, anything's possible, like you could potentially do something, but right now it's, and people, lot 3 would still have the ability to access that detention basin, even if lot 1 decided to pave a roadway there or something, so, anything's possible, but I doubt that they would ever do that, I don't know.
Well, do we want them paving over utilities, and how would we get to them if there's a problem?
You can pave in a utility easement, as long as you're willing to take that risk, it could be pulled out at any point at your expense.
So, I'm not in favor of another cut on Husky, however, if you're gonna have one, there's enough distance there to avoid an easement, and that just makes it an easement makes it complicated for anybody interested in any parcel, because they're also buying into an easement. I'll return to the question, let's see, who drew the plat?
Walker Associates.
So, the easement, the extension, the easement to the west of lot 3 that is being retained by lot 1, why wasn't that just drawn in with lot 3?
We just felt that we were trying to achieve a lot size of around 1.5 acres, that's just what it came out to. The border pretty much is almost what looks like the south parking lot.
Right.
I see what you're saying, is that we're including lot 3, then that would be the natural entrance then
Or-
to lot 3.
Lot 3 has more flexibility, and you don't have lot 1 with a couple of,
I like that idea, Jeff, adding that easement to lot 3, then you could make a cut just to the west of lot 3 possibly, around the curve, would be a natural entrance.
It does, that basin does extend into that easement area. I had asked the same question when I
right,
first looked
because
at it.
I'm looking at the elevations, and I see the drop in elevations in that parcel. But easement, elevation, all of that, it's still widest sliver retains with 1 as opposed to lot, it's a natural line, east-west line going across the north end of lot 3, why it's just not part of lot 3 instead of an odd little duck.
Yeah, to answer that, I guess we just did not see that adding too much value to lot 3 for a potential buyer, especially with most of that already being kind of that retention basin area.
Well, it doesn't have a lot of value to lot 1 either.
Right.
It's pretty well, has no value either way.
Right.
But it would make more sense to include it with lot 3, but that would give lot 3 the other options. Especially if it was residential, it would give the property owners a place to walk their dog or take frisbee or whatever. But I agree with Jeff, that would make a lot of sense, to include that little sliver of lot 3, and that would solve a lot of problems.
saw it and add it to the, common area, it just,
That's another option, yes.
So you're talking about a cutoff Mariner Drive now?
Yeah. But right around the corner, if you look at the plat, there's actually grass and high ground right on that curve.
Yeah.
That is not, yeah, that's high and dry. It would be on the curve, but I don't think that'd be a major problem considering the amount of traffic compared to Husky Trail.
Right.
yeah, the elevation show 860 all the way around, coming up off of that point, what looks like 30 or 40 feet.
Which is enough for a cut.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm okay with a cut on Husky Trail. We've allowed Martins to have the exact same cut and almost the exact same distance, and they are a high volume store with a high volume cafe in there. They seem to be nearly identical. The road width looks the same, the distance to the cut would be about the same. I just feel like treatment of that should be similar to Martin's.
The one difference I would see in that is the school traffic,
That's,
In what sense?
because the parent pickup runs through that neighborhood. That is north of Martin's, on the other side of the roundabout, and this is where you wanna make the cut, is in that same area.
Now, well, technically, parent pickup is supposed to go past Martin's on East Mariners Drive.
But they don't do that, they cut through that neighborhood and go through there.
Not,
The parent pickup does go back through the neighborhood, and it goes back along, like their soccer fields and everything,
Right.
to the kind of east of the school.
it was East
So they,
Mariners to Flora.
I believe so, yes. They never, you can never see the back of the line from any part of our property or from Martin's, from what I've been able to see.
why do you refresh my memory, on the roundabout, where does that east cut on the roundabout go to? Does that go to Martin's? Or where does that go?
You were talking about where Mariners Drive.
I'm talking about, yeah, if you extend Mariners Drive, go around the roundabout and go east, I see it goes and then curves north, where does that actually go to?
It cuts right behind Martin's.
Yeah, so Martin's has another entrance to go into
No,
Martin's there.
That actually is an entrance,
Yep.
so
And then-
Martin's actually dumps onto the roundabout.
Yeah, and then I think it's Flora Avenue is actually where the cars line up to go to the school gate.
Back to that
Okay.
Yeah.
neighborhood.
But Diane, you're correct, the busing route is along that Husky Trail road. The buses do traverse that.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, part of the reason why they have that turn lane going onto Goliath Street right there.
Black Street, that's the name of it.
As you're coming south on Husky Trail it is. That's what I would propose. I would just propose the same thing, you know, you have the same middle median there, from both ways, where you could do, a multi-directional turn lane or individual turn lanes to get into each different property there.
And you could make the motion, like any potential development at that lot, go to Traffic Safety Commission by default, so I think that would be a fair thing to do if you really wanna make sure that that's done correctly. So that's helpful too.
And we're saying that if it were on Husky Trail, that it would only be accessible to the lot 3, it wouldn't be, like other, the parking lot, people coming out of Louise or going into Louise using that to access to lot 1.
Yeah, as part of their site development plan, that access could be separated.
Yeah.
The idea is to keep the access for lot 3 exclusive, that kind of, yes.
Well, is there nothing we say would preclude anybody from lot 1 or whatever asking for a curb cut in the future? travels up and down Husky Trail.
You really don't like the Marion Drive cut, is that what I'm hearing?
It has way less space, and I think you're impeding the worst kind of traffic in the worst case scenario, which is the hospital. To be honest, the way I look at it is when you've got a thin area to go this way that has emergency response vehicles heading that way, I would make the argument that our entrance should have never been put on that side, but that's just me, but it is there, right? So, but now, back in the day, which was a Wednesday or not, I don't know, but it was actually, they had almost, when there were no sidewalks, they did have almost like a DIY, people were making their own route into the property from Husky Trail, so, the curbs have helped with that, so thank you.
Yeah, as it's proposed, lot 3 really does not have much frontage at all on Mariners Drive. So it'd be almost right out of the roundabout
That,
that curve would be.
that was a choice. You waiting for a motion?
No, I'm just making sure everybody get a feel for what it is they think they're settling in on. You know, not getting a very settled feeling about you're being settled in on. Does anybody have enough clarity to make a motion at this point?
I think you need to make sure everybody can speak in favor or against the petition from the public.
Let's say that again.
Just, make sure everybody that's here that wants to speak.
Oh,
in
yeah,
favor or
no,
against.
I'm just answering this question,
Oh.
I'm not done yet. So, okay. Did you get a chance to say everything you wanted to say?
Yes.
Okay. Then I'll let you sit down, and then, is there anybody else out there who wishes to speak in favor of this, request?
Well, I'm the owner, so I would like it to go through, so.
Okay. Is there anybody opposed who just has some questions they would like to ask about this request? Okay, with that said, then, are there any further questions or comments to these
Did the
people?
gentleman, did they hear that you just called for anybody speaking in on this issue?
I did, well, I said that.
You said that, they were talking and I didn't know if he wanted to speak. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, I was just asking a question.
Okay.
Before we go any further, I guess we discussed lot 3, where would the access be to lot 2? Would it be through the theater drive? That's not clarified.
Access for lot 2.
Where would you come into lot 2 through the theater drive, or would there be a separate cut for lot 2 off of Mariner Drive?
The goal would be to have a separate cut off Mariners
Off of
Drive,
Mariner?
yes, so it has
So you would have
exclusive.
2 cuts next to each other.
Yes.
I don't have an issue with that, but I just like to clarify.
Okay. Any further questions or comments from the board for the guest? With that, I'll thank you, gentlemen, and we'll close it to the public for the internal discussion.
So just to clarify what you just said, if we want to approve it as is, we could approve it with the caveat that it go before traffic commission.
Yeah, for the development of, if you want to say, for the development of lot 3, any development, proposed development would need to be approved by the Traffic Safety Commission. We could put that in the minutes and make sure that happens.
Go ahead, Jeff, you got a thought?
Looking forward, are we trying to do this as a preliminary and final in one meeting?
Well, that was the suggestion. And I had Diane warming up in the back room to get the voice.
We wouldn't have to, you could,
I'm not opposed to the plat, but I'm opposed to doing it in one meeting.
You
Your
will look
thoughts
at
on
it
that?
again after the traffic commission has it?
Yes.
Let the traffic commission look at it and bring it back.
There would be,
Well,
I think, for them to.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, what I'm saying is, I'd like to have a little time to think it through, so I guess what I'm saying is, I don't wanna make the preliminary a unanimous vote.
need a unanimous vote, because then we have to vote to suspend the
Okay.
rules, and you can vote against suspending the rules, and that would accomplish the same thing.
And I know what I'm gonna do.
Okay.
Okay, Justin, did you want to?
Thank you.
That was all.
No, that's definitely the purview of the board, if they wanna, do 2 meetings, that's totally fine.
Okay, well then, I guess some clarity then, so the traffic commission will look at something between now and the next meeting?
No, so that would be part of the site development plan. So we don't have anything to review. We don't know what's gonna go in there. We don't know where their curb cut would be. But I think Jeff just wants a little bit more time to digest the plat as a whole. So you could do the preliminary approval, and then the next meeting, we could find out if there's any other contingencies or things that you'd wanna revise on the plat after the preliminary.
Well, could you talk to the traffic commission and just say this is what they're proposing? Is there kind of a dead stop in your mind, or?
We just don't have enough, we don't have enough information to
Well, I think you're looking at this cut off, the only question is the cut off Harrison is gonna be whatever, so many feet, north of the roundabout, and that's what everybody's kind of talking about.
I was just gonna look at the schedule to see when the next meeting falls. Yeah, I mean, if you guys would like, I could, if you think that would be helpful, I could bring it up. We just don't have a lot of information to review.
Well, you can talk about the two proposals off of Mariner and off of, that we talked about, and off of Harrison, and just see if they have some kind of a, let's say, a flat period, and you can find it out ahead of time.
I'll do that.
I like Jeff's idea, so we would all have a chance maybe to drive and look and see where those cuts would be, and then we could decide. I like the plan is good. I like the idea of utilizing the whole property, dividing it, it's been sitting there vacant for years and years, so it's highest and best use, so I have no issue with that. It's just the issue of the cut.
Okay, so we will make an initial motion, and then when we go to suspend the rules, it only takes one person to say they don't want to do that, and that quashes it. It has to be unanimous to suspend.
Correct.
Okay.
You looking for motion?
Go ahead.
Please.
I move to approve the preliminary plat, before us for Mariner subdivision.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay.
So now, since we have a unanimous motion, we have the option to suspend the rules. So I'll make the motion that we suspend the rules and approve the final plat.
Okay, I need a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed. Okay.
So we'll go back to next meeting.
Okay, so, Justin, is there anything further we need to do with this?
No, I'll bring it up in the next traffic safety commission as requested, and then, you guys will have it until next meeting to, decide how you would like to move forward with
Did you
that.
have any thoughts or questions for Justin before we move on to something else in the audience?
I know.
Is there a traffic safety commission between now and the next plan?
Yeah, there should be, unless it gets canceled, but there should be, beginning of June.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. I've got some things to say
Well,
about the
so I
future.
guess my question is really what that did was just prohibit the potential sale that we would wind up for the theater.
Yeah.
I mean, it pushes,
Correct, and that was part of the public discourse, so, yeah.
But you were asking public discourse to oppose.
In favor or opposed, did we not say in favor?
We're in favor of the preliminary proposal. We did not agree to suspend the rules to give you a final approval. That will await feedback from the Safety Traffic Commission, and at the next meeting, depending upon what Justin tells us, then we will make the motion for final approval, and that will be in 1 month.
Correct.
Okay, does that answer your question?
No.
no, yeah.
The question was, it sounded like what you were saying, when you were requesting public comment, you were asking for public comment for anyone who opposes it. Not
You said
anyone in
opposed,
favor.
or do you have questions?
Well, that was, when you go through this, you say who's in favor of this, then you ask the audience who's opposed, to just ask questions.
Correct.
And nobody spoke up, so that part.
Well, that was, the read for me was, anyone in opposition to this should speak up. anyone supporting this should not, not should, but yeah, the public comment was unclear.
So essentially, I guess what the concern is where we have a potential buyer lined up for this property, by extending this to next month, it is delaying the closing procedures for that, because now we
Just the theater.
can't sell just the plot one.
Right.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, man. When Alex was up here, I asked the question in terms of, is there a pending sale that is based on
For
this?
lot three.
That was in regards to.
I understand that that was a great opportunity to share that. And it was
I
not.
agree with that. But you had specifically said, is there a pending sale for lot three?
I understand that, but
Unknown that.
on this
that-
plat,
Well, yeah, so that
so
was,
your sale can be subject to the final approval of the plat
in 1 month.
in 1 month. You can,
And stay in touch with Justin, make sure this traffic commission goes, and he gives us some feedback for this next meeting.
So that's a realtor talking, so if you need to talk to him after the meeting to find out how you do that, I'm sure Jeff would be good.
Yeah.
I'm an
Well-
idiot realtor. Yeah.
Okay, you still look puzzled, is it still another thought? Okay.
No, I understand.
I mean, it's definitely like we were looking to close much more sooner than next month.
And I
And
think that got voted down,
it sounds like that, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's,
But it got voted down with lack of unclearness as to whether there was a pending sale.
Where the
whether there was
cuts are.
public comment in proposed. It is what it is, I
I
suppose.
think the only issue is where the cuts go, and if they're safe.
And I believe I could address that if, I mean, but you're asking for a traffic, I mean, I as the future owner am happy to allow an easement on Husky Trail or that south lot, but again, I'm not sure when I speak or whether other realtors speak or, so that is, I mean, the vote's final, so there's not much that we can do, right?
Yeah, just to fill you in too, most of these plats go to meetings, they have to suspend the rules
Sure.
to do that, so it is typical that it does
Yeah.
take 2 meetings to do the preliminary and then the final. So,
Yep.
Just pushing it off would harm the potential sale of the property, or does that just delay your guys' timeframe?
That would be a comment for future discussion, I'm sure. There's plenty of things trying to harm the sale anyway, so it's not like.
Yeah. Sorry about that too.
Yeah. But for the non-record, we were trying to get in last month's meeting as well, so we have delayed the sale by quite a bit already, and so it is what it is, I guess.
Okay, what else have we got to discuss here, Pam? Anything? I'm sorry.
The dumpster ordinance.
Well, no, I'm just making sure we cut this one off, so everybody in the audience is happy. So if there's no further questions or comments, then we will move on to the next item, which will be really exciting to me.
Well, thank you all for your consideration.
Have a good evening. Thank you. Let's go see that, I claim it, but hang in there.
Listen, it's not saying.
Actually, in a way, I mean, they were getting a little carried away as far as where these construction companies are throwing the dumpsters all over the place. I'm sorry, take it away.
Justin.
Taking my thunder. Taking my thunder.
So coming back, the last time we talked about this.
So just to highlight, just the initial reasoning behind exploring this dumpster ordinance, and what I'm looking for tonight is a recommendation from the planning commission to take to city council, to review this ordinance and hopefully enact it. The purpose of this ordinance is to regulate the placement of dumpsters, roll-off containers, and similar refuse containers within the public right-of-way in the city of Warsaw. In order to protect the public safety, maintain traffic circulation, which we talked about a lot about tonight, preserve municipal infrastructure, and ensure the availability of public parking. So with that, we can kind of go through the ordinance and you can ask questions that you have, but in a nutshell, those are the intents. So currently we don't have any regulation over the placement of dumpsters, so a lot of times people will call the office and ask about it, especially if they're downtown see a dumpster out on the street, and, it may interfere with a public festival or event. And there's not a lot of, recourse that the city would have in order to mitigate that. It may be placed in the middle of two parking spaces, and it just is a disruption to the downtown. Now, we understand the need for the dumpsters. There's a lot of projects, a lot of great things happening downtown. But this would actually give us an ability to kind of know with more certainty when those dumpsters are gonna be there and when they're gonna be removed. Currently, if somebody placed a dumpster out in front of their business for 6 months, there's not a lot we would have to encourage them to remove it. So just looking at this, it kind of addresses a lot of those problems that came up again and again as we were looking at the traffic ordinance. That's why we delayed reviewing this a little bit, because we wanted to get the parking ordinance in place. And then explore what we wanted to do and how we wanted to address the dumpsters. So this would create a new permitting process for dumpsters in downtown. The proposed fee for this is something we can discuss, but we proposed it at $15 a day, and that would be over weekends and holidays as well as civil penalties if they damage public infrastructure. A lot of dumpsters are placed without the proper plates down on the road, and they've placed dumpsters on brand new roads and caused there to be dents and potholes. So it creates a little bit more of an ability for the city to recoup the damages that are done to public roads. Let's see here, so we covered the civil penalties part. So there would be civil penalties up to $5,000 per occurrence, and with the addition of the cost of the repair. So that would just enable the city, if we did repair it with our own crews, we would have an ability to do that and recoup some of the lost expenses of the damage. So yeah, with that, if there's any questions, I know there's a lot to unpack here, but I just wanted to make sure you guys got some of that information.
So I heard somebody ask you about alleys, and you said no, but now under public right-of-ways, alleys are specifically listed. So how do we delineate between a trash dumpster that has to be there and used all the time and a one that's there for construction, like, not really sure where the.
Yeah, there's a carve out for dumpsters that are placed in the alleyways for typical business use that don't obstruct vehicles. So let me see here.
Okay.
Yeah, there is a carve out.
Section 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, section 4, it shall not apply to small dumpsters that don't interfere with traffic.
Justin, how would you enforce this, like, for example, the wheels of the containers creating issue? Would we have, like, an inspection ahead of time and afterwards of these? How do we plan on enforcing that?
Yeah, it's kind of how we do it now with building permits. A lot of these dumpsters are associated with building permits, so it would just take the inspector a couple seconds as they approach the facility to see if the dumpster was on the plates itself. It's pretty clear on the roadway if there's been damage. It's really for the most egregious things. We're not looking to, there's a millimeter of asphalt compressed here, we're not looking at that. It's just more for the most egregious instances.
As long as we have a plan.
Other questions or comments? Jeff?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I feel like the problem
No?
got a child tonight.
It's why the mayor appointed you.
So but I'm gonna lean into it. Under the exceptions, why do we use vague terms like small dumpsters as opposed to defining a size or smaller, like 6 yard or smaller, 8 yard or smaller? Because you get into what is small, that is a small one compared to the other one I have.
I think underneath the exceptions, it's a dumpster that does not obstruct vehicle access through an alley, so, there are a lot of different, instances, like, I'm trying to think that I think the jail museum there's a dumpster on or near their property, near the alley, that is larger than small restaurant dumpster that most of the restaurants have. So there are always exceptions to
But
that.
it sets on their property, it doesn't set in the right of way.
Potentially, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying like why it might, maybe it straddles, I don't know, but it's a good point, I think there's instances where there might be a larger dumpster that we weren't trying rigidly. It's a double-edged sword when you get very specific on, what if somebody has a slightly larger dumpster than the ordinance allows, are we gonna ask them to remove that, and it's not obstructing traffic?
That's the right truth.
I like the idea of having some clear-cut rules, so thank you for bringing that together. I passed one that's been there for 2 months, it's in the road, and it's actually sticking out past the parking space. Can't remember the name of the Washington Street, it's bigger for it. So, yes, I like the idea that you at least have some teeth in the game and you can do something about the violations. Or let people know that it's a violation.
Right, they're defining violations. I
Yes.
think it's hard to know how to proceed if you don't even know what the rules are, so.
Yeah. At least it's a clear-cut set of rules.
Jeff, are you, okay, or you got some further thoughts?
I have no further thoughts, I'm not making any motions, but I'm not opposed to voting.
Okay. Anybody else, Max, or anybody?
Well, just a question on the fee, is that, I guess in my head, that sounds good if you have it there for a week, if you have it there for 9 months, is that a typical fee? I don't know, like, how did we set $15?
Yeah, we tried to go, kind of base it hand in hand with a maximum, of the parking ordinance would value the parking ordinance would value the stall.
Okay.
So it had a max of up to $15 potential per day per spot. We charge less than that, but that's where that 15
Gotcha.
came from, for the value of the space that they're taking.
Great, thank you.
Any other thoughts or comments, questions? Are we ready for a motion?
I just have one quick question. I'm reading through this quick and I may have missed it. Is there any recommendation on, like, how long does the initial permit go? Is it gonna be like a 30-day permit and then they have to come and renew it, or what is the?
That is something that we kind of left out with the fee, but that is something we could explore. That it's kind of flexible because we added that fee on there, and we thought that would incentivize people to not leave the dumpster there kind of indefinitely, without putting those brackets. Because there might be some instances where they would need that dumpster there for 2 months, you know, and it was kind of hard to bracket that. But if you guys want to explore that, we can definitely explore language where we could put some brackets on there and say it's for 30 days and then it expires and you need to renew, you know, or needs a certain approval. We weren't quite sure what that approval process looked like. There was discussion about potentially involving Public Works, since they deal with a lot of right-of-way issues. So there's discussion there, but we can definitely explore that, Diane, if you think that'd be valuable.
How would you collect the fee? I mean, would you just assume it's 3 days and collect $45, or how would you determine what you're gonna collect it up front, I assume?
Yeah, so that would be in the permit application. They would have to select a duration of time that the dumpster was gonna be placed there, and they would have to pay that fee as it's calculated. So at $15 a day, they would have to pay that fee up front to
So
place the
then if
dumpster.
you pass that date, they have to come in and reapply, is that correct?
That's
Correct,
what I'm
yeah.
asking.
I think that's Diane's question, you know, what happens if they?
Yeah, they would reapply. If they exceeded their date, they would have to reapply at that
Except
point
if
for
it's on a weekend, they have to come in on Monday.
correct.
So we don't have to dictate it, it's just written when the permit is written.
Correct. They would apply for the amount of time. So we would have a good idea. Are they gonna be there for 3 months? Are they gonna be there for 20 days? Whatever that is, when they apply for the permit.
Would they mount the permit to the dumpster like a building permit?
That would be a way to make sure that it had a permit, yeah.
Well, and then, so they apply for 60 days, but if you only use 45, you can give them a refund.
expensive, just coming in all the time, is what I'm thinking of.
And we could always explore, waivers for like larger projects if there was a need for something like that. The Board of Works, approved Lake City Banks project, so those kind of things, we anticipate that would run through a similar channel. We're not trying to capture, like, if they need to block off the road to elevate cranes and that kind of thing.
Well, didn't you answer everybody's questions when you said that, you know, they get the permit, the date is set, you know how long it's gonna be? And so, you know, I think that kind of tells us, and then if there is a problem, then they have to come back in and you can talk to them again and get another permit, but I thought that answered everybody's questions, was something wrong?
No, because if they applied for 60 days, they paid for 60 days and only used 45 days, or they have the extra 15 days.
We have the ability to issue refunds if that was something we needed to do.
I mean, we're just recommending whether or not to take this before council. Council's gonna ask what the plan commission had to say about it. But council's gonna ask this question, I can guarantee it.
Since you're on it, that's a good possibility.
That's a good thing, that you want to clarify.
I agree, it would get.
Nobody else does, you will.
Because a vague ordinance like this just opens up cans of
A lot of
worms.
issues.
Yeah. Same with Jeff's question about just removing the small from number 4, just removing that word.
Make it
So it's not
specific
apply to
size.
dumpsters used for routine business refuge located within the alleyways provided that it doesn't, you know, because that would, if it doesn't obstruct vehicular access or,
It doesn't bring up the need for a definition of what that is. It's
Yeah.
saying dumpsters if they obstruct.
if it's for commercial refuse, then that just gets rid of all of those questions, because otherwise you put that word in there and you've got,
So you're saying get rid of small boards?
just get rid of the word small.
Yeah,
You okay with that, Justin?
Of course, yes.
since it's not defined.
Does that kind of get to your concern, Jeff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of it.
Get rid of that, and then I think we need to look at the permits, you know, how long they would normally be for and when they
I,
be renewed and.
on the supply side, part of the length, most companies that rent dumpsters, they have a limit before you have to pay another fee for the dumpster. So if you have to pay $600 for the dumpster, you only get that for a week. If you need it for more than a week, you've got another $600. So some of that length may already be solved by the rental fee.
Which is substantially higher than what we're charging.
Right.
Way higher.
That hasn't prevented them from being out on the streets for months and months.
Well, I know because that too is a situation where they contract with the waste carrier going, they're not renting the dumpster, they're renting the removal of the debris, or they're contracting for the removal of the debris. So the dumpster isn't the contractor, it's not Lake City Banks, it is the debris removal contract, and they just fill her up, we'll come get it, we'll empty it.
And I think that's a good point, Jeff, because there are different brackets where they might need 30 days and they might need
Right.
20 days, so that, to me, that says we shouldn't necessarily say the permit lasts X amount of days, because that could vary so widely. Somebody might need it for a day, somebody might need it for 2 months. So those are the parameters, like, if we add our own brackets on there, it might cause there to be extra days that they're paying for that they didn't need as well, so.
Well, that brings up another problem. I rented a dumpster one time for a week, and it took them 3 weeks to pick it up because they were busy. I only wanted it for a week, but with this ordinance, I would have to pay for the $15 a day fee for a whole month, when I only wanted the dumpster for 1 week. And I have no way to force any citizen wouldn't have a way to force the dumpster company to pick up the dumpster.
Unless your contract only ran a week and they have to pay the $15 a day.
That's where I'm coming from,
Yeah.
thank you.
Who's they, when you say they have?
The company who
The dumpster
you
people.
rented the dumpster from, they were supposed to come and get it when he was done with that 1 week.
final approval tonight, or you just trying to?
No, it's just, there's no rush, it's whatever pace you guys wanna review this at, this is perfectly fine. I think a lot of the fees, if you drop it and damage the road, that goes to the dumpster company. So I think they would ultimately be held responsible for a lot of this as well.
So who's coming to get the permit, the
Liability.
contractor or the dumpster company?
Right now, it's open to either, we could set it up so that the dumpster companies were the ones applying for the permit, that could also be a possibility.
We're the ones that are gonna probably establish the location.
Whoever gets the permit is responsible for whatever, and it's their job to figure out who's, if it wasn't their fault, it's not our worry how they get reimbursed.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I think this is a very valid point. It's probably gonna be the source of a lot of people coming in, with frustration. So if we're not concerned about the time as much as we are having some level of parameters around things, do we offer a grace period or something of a week or 10 days after the permit where we're not collecting the fees, but we want it out at a certain period?
Have you by any chance looked at what other
Yes.
cities are doing,
For
just as, you know, as kind of examples?
Yeah.
Have they addressed these issues and, you know,
This ordinance does reference other communities, best practices as well, so.
Who does it most closely mirror?
It's been a while since I looked at it, I believe Bloomington had one, I'm trying to think of who else we looked at.
about Carmel?
I don't know if we looked at Carmel, but we definitely could take a look at that and see.
You weren't rich, I'm sure Carmel's the most.
No, I'm more than happy, I'm not trying to rush this at all, you guys can digest it as long as you need to, and for any sort of comfort level.
Well, I'd like to see us give him some direction on what we want more input on. So what do we want Justin to get more input on, so he's got some direction?
I'm supportive of Max in terms of, at the end of the day, somebody needs a dumpster with the city limits is helping the city with some project. So we have to assume that they're at some point in time increasing the tax base, everything else. I think from the permit standpoint, there should be a beginning free period, let's just say for discussion, 7 days. You can have the dumpster there for 7 days because we're all benefiting from whatever you're doing. Then the per day fee starts. I am in agreement, though, this comes back from a contract, there is it's good for 60 days, period. If you need another permit, come back, or 30 days, or whatever, there should be just a clear, this is the deadline.
Okay, and who do you think the party should be? Should it be the contractor, the dumpster carrier, or both?
Whoever pulls the permit is responsible party. If I pull the permit for my house, I'm responsible for that permit. If my contractor pulls a permit, the contractor's responsible, it's whoever pulls the permit. I'm not trying to be, it's just,
Well, you've got the experience.
well, otherwise, we don't do it that way. You just open up to a whole bunch of, much like a small dumpster interpretation. Well, you know, I didn't understand. No, you pulled the permit, you're the responsible party. If the dumpster company owes you money, go get it. Get them to reimburse you the money you paid us.
My thought would be you need to make sure that the contractor knows that, you know?
Yeah.
We have,
Coming after you.
yeah, with our permits, we have like check boxes and we have a splash page that explains the process and what it is, so we make sure that language made it clear, that by pulling the permit, they were taking on a certain level of responsibility for what they were doing.
I mean, we're talking about this as if we're talking about downtown, but technically we're talking about any street within the city
In
limits.
the right of way.
Correct. So, I mean, it is important, I think, like you mentioned, the individual homeowner too, if they choose to place the dumpster in the street rather than in their driveway, they're gonna have a permit, right?
Yeah, and that doesn't come up extremely often, but it has come up where somebody in a neighborhood has dropped a dumpster right in the roadway,
Yeah, I've seen it.
much to the chagrin of their neighbors, so.
Well, I mean, I'd like to see them have to get a permit no matter what, if it's on especially when there's snow on the ground, I can see that being a real problem.
And intention, and like I said at the beginning, is to protect, obviously increase safety, but also protect the public infrastructure if it's damaging the roads. And dumpster companies should know better. They shouldn't be dropping the dumpster right on the road, but this would give us a little bit of teeth to pursue the dumpster.
Well, that's why I'm saying it's important that you get a permit, just so you're aware of the fact of who put the dumpster there, for how long. Just having that information, I think, would be very helpful, because otherwise the dumpster could be there, be gone, and you don't know who to blame for the damage to the street. So I like that idea.
Who do they go through to pull permit? Is it you or the building commissioner?
It would be the same portal that they file all permits through, so cut permits, building permits, it's all in one place now. So they don't have to come into the office, it's all done online, so we just build out another permit type for dumpsters.
So are you aware of it? Do you see those as they come through, or is it, who actually sees them?
Yeah, we have a process, each permit type has a different process, so they're reviewed simultaneously by the different departments. So there's some reviews that the building commissioner looks at, but there's some that the planning team looks at, so it all happens all at once.
Okay.
So we could run it by the Department of Public Works and the wastewater, just to make sure they don't have any projects planned for right where the dumpster is.
Correct, yes.
Set for a while.
Just like cut permits, it's very similar to cut permits, how they work currently. If somebody's doing digging in the right of way, my team reviews the cut permit first. And then if we see something like they're closing down part of Center Street, we tag Public Works in it. They also have a review on those cut permits, so we know who's digging in the road and where. So it's kind of similar to that process to make sure we mitigate the damage to the public right of way.
So, Max, Jurgen, Diane, do you have any further questions or directions you want?
I'm sorry, I have one.
Go ahead.
What I think is probably a fairly common scenario is roofers would drop a dumpster for just a day or two. I'm just a little worried, like, sometimes that's weather permitting, sometimes they call you and are like, we can do it a week earlier, or we have to do it a week later. I'm just worried how inflexible this might be for folks that, again, just having a quick construction thing or just a day or two thing, that they may not be able to, the homeowner may not be able to control that dumpster being dropped.
And Jeff did mention the 7-day free thing, so that's something we could explore, like the initial application, like if you only need it for a week or 3 days, whatever that is,
So
wherever
if
you
they
guys.
didn't come, you just call up and say, hey, can we get that moved till next week for the permit type of a thing?
Yeah, we could definitely update the window of time that on the back end of the permit.
Okay.
Just to make sure I understand, you're talking about not charging them $15, but not absolving them from liability if there's damage to the road or the sidewalks.
Correct.
That starts.
Yeah, that's a good point.
First
Yes,
day.
I think that should still be part of it.
Yeah, that'd be part of the day
Yeah.
one, yeah.
So they'd have to file a permit, but they wouldn't be charged
Well, they should be charged $15.
unless it went over. Well, that's the question. That's paperwork. He told you how many places it has to go through. If you don't charge it.
You're saying you're just generating paperwork with no fee?
Yeah, like whether or not, I was been questioning whether there should be a permit fee and then a per day fee.
And we can certainly explore options on that. I don't mind that, looking into that or finding some options.
Because I think as we're looking across the city at Baker until we're looking at fee structures for us and how we're gonna mitigate SB one,
Yeah.
we should be thinking about what it costs.
And what we could do is, maybe it's $15 for the first week, and then it's
Right.
a daily fee after that.
That's a good idea.
You bring up a good point. We just assumed there was gonna be a permit fee because that's how things work.
Yeah.
But it's not on here.
No, I understand. You make a good point. We're going, oh yeah, we assumed there was gonna be a permit fee.
Were you anticipating a permit fee for this?
It was the daily fee that was built into that, so, that was the only fee that, it was just an incentive to remove it as quickly as possible. Don't only have the dumpster out on the road as long as necessary.
But if we do a permit fee and it takes care of all your paperwork and review, and then you wanna give a grace period of however many
Yeah.
The
days.
initial
Yeah, covers
permit
it.
fee covers 7 days. Yeah.
That's fair.
Maybe I'm just throwing that number out, but like a $50 permit fee You know,
If that covers his administrative costs.
yeah,
We're pretty efficient.
you are, but,
We're not, we're all here.
but we're paying the workers, we're paying their insurance, we're
Somebody
paying
has to check on it.
A city
comp, we're
engineer.
paying- Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't come cheap.
Well, and piggybacking on what Jeff said, I could see exceptions for like in a house fire where they have to demolish the whole house. It might take 2 or 3 months, but they're making an effort to clean up that property, so I can see some exceptions.
And generally residential, it's on their driveway, it's on their property.
Yeah.
We're not trying to mess with that, this is
It's
more
just
for
on the street.
on the street.
Yeah, that'd be a hassle from all that from the house up to the street. residential.
What I'm just thinking about some of our multi-unit complexes, that this would deal with them either putting it out in the road or blocking trash pickup with a dumpster, or, I mean, it would have to be thought about where it's placed. You know, having it in an alley or, because we have several pockets in our city where there's mainly R1, but grandfathered in is a 4-unit apartment building or a couple of duplexes in there, or, you
I
know.
think I know where you're at.
Yeah, you know exactly where I'm at, it's in my district, and there's been issues, so.
That technically, that should be enclosed, I mean, where it's at, it's kind of in the right of way, it's kind of enclosed, I've talked to him before, but yeah, I know where you're at. Now every dumpster in this town.
In any case, appreciate Jeff is putting this together.
Yep.
Fine tune it, it's a step in the right direction, thank you.
Yeah, feel like you got the direction you need now?
Yeah, and if anybody wants to chat with me, over the next month, feel free to reach out and we can look at it again. And again, it's not a rush, we just wanna get something that you guys would come to city council and then they can fine tune it from there, so.
When would you like to bring it forth again?
The next meeting, if you guys are okay with that, we gotta meet anyway, because we're gonna be looking at the,
We're committed to another meeting
Yep.
next month.
so we'll be here, in this area too, so.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if everybody got their inputs and you feel like you got direction, we'll call it. Now, we don't need any motion, do we?
Nope. No.
Okay, just information. There's no other business, or is there a motion to adjourn?
Make your first motion.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Ben gets the second then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none.